I want to discuss this attack and more now with former U.S. Ambassador to NATO, Kurt Volker. Ambassador, thank you so much for sharing part of your afternoon with us. Right away, I want to get your reaction to this brutal Russian strike. It's the deadliest on civilians for at least a year plus. Not an apparent military target, but rather a service for a Ukrainian soldier that had passed away. Your reaction seeing those images?
Yeah, it's absolutely devastating and horrific to see those kinds of images. But this is what the Ukrainians are facing every day. This may have been one of the largest attacks in a long time that killed civilians, but it is by no means alone. There are attacks on Ukrainian cities virtually every night. And this is intended to terrorize the population and to try to force them to submit to Russia's takeover. This is exactly why Russia needs to be stopped. This is not a border dispute. This is not some kind of conflict where Russia has legitimate security concerns and they're trying to address them. This is a brutal aggression in order to take over a sovereign state and to destroy its people and to destroy Ukrainian identity. And U.S. assistance in this is critical. So we have to keep this going, because if we don't stop Russia in Ukraine, we're going to face this again and again in other places.
On that note, Ambassador, does it surprise you that an attack of this scale, using the kind of missile that Fred was describing, comes at a time when there are questions about support for Ukraine, not only here in the United States, but in Spain, in Italy, among the Polish as well?
Well, Vladimir Putin is always trying to send a message. And in this case, he talked about nuclear weapons in a speech earlier today, and then he has this major attack as well. He's trying to send a message to the West to warn us off that don't try to help Ukraine. Maybe we'll use a nuclear weapon, but don't try to help Ukraine. It's futile. We'll just kill them all. And I think that's the kind of evil and the kind of deliberateness to Putin's aggression that we really need to see for what it is and be prepared to stop it.
On the question of how to stop it, the main talking point from those who oppose additional aid revolves around corruption and making sure that that aid gets to where it needs to go, the battlefield. I have spoken to experts who essentially say that concerns over corruption in Ukraine are overblown. They say that Zelensky has been proactive in handling concerns, firing people with the Ministry of Defense who are even perceived as being corrupt. They argue that those concerns, those apprehensions, should not slow down Western support. Where are you in that argument?
Well, there is no country that has zero corruption, including our country. So we can't have too high a standard here. And in the case of Ukraine, they are doing their best to deal with corruption as it is, but particularly in the military forces, there is such a premium on fighting back to defend against the Russians. There is very little scope for corruption there. And in addition to that, the way U.S. assistance works, we provide money to the Pentagon. The Pentagon provides weapons to Ukraine, not money. And those weapons go to the battlefield. And meanwhile, the money is used to replenish U.S. supplies with new equipment. So there is very little chance of corruption through that system. We're actually supporting U.S. defense industry, U.S. military capabilities, and supporting Ukraine with all the capabilities.
So would you say then that it is a mischaracterization by leadership in Congress to voice this apprehension, to voice opposition to more aid for Ukraine? And if so, is there something that can be done to sway them or public opinion to help the cause of defending Ukraine from the Russian invasion?
Right. Well, there are two separate issues. One of them is the American interest in seeing Ukraine defeat Russian forces inside Ukraine so that we don't see Russia attacking elsewhere, triggering a NATO Article 5 commitment that gets the U.S. directly involved. By spending less than 5% of our defense budget, we are seeing Ukraine destroy at least half of Russia's conventional military capability, which is reducing the threat to NATO and the United States. So that is a good investment for U.S. interests. Separate from that is the question, is there any corruption in Ukraine? How do we address that? And there, I fully agree with those who want to see strong accountability measures so that we are tracking the assistance that we provide. We are following up to make sure there is no corruption in the system, and we are working with President Zelensky and his team to root out that corruption if possible.
So is it an issue of communications? Is it selling the idea to the American people that is lagging behind? Because public support doesn't appear to be behind the idea of more aid to Ukraine.
Yeah, it is an issue of communications to a large degree, because when you dig into this, a majority of people say they still believe that Ukraine's has a right to defend itself. Ukraine should win. We should help Ukraine. But then it breaks down when you say, well, how much money and for how long is it worth it? But then when you go further and you explain that, as I just did, with the military assistance, this is not money leaving the United States. This is money going to our Pentagon. We're providing weapons to Ukraine, and that Ukraine is actually succeeding on the battlefield. Over half of the territory that Russia took last year has been taken back by Ukraine already. The remainder is very slow and hard going, but they've taken back 54% already, and they need to be supported to continue to take back the rest. And finally, if we don't help them do this, we run a risk of Russia attacking other countries where we will be directly involved. And we would rather avoid that by helping Ukraine win now.
Yeah, not to mention the loss of life. We're already seeing this brutal attack today, at least 51 people killed in eastern Ukraine. An attack on what appears to be a grocery store, not a military target. Ambassador Kurt Volker, we have to leave the conversation there. We appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Pam?